Thanks for nice kirtan, Prabhu. Mataji was so busy for a few days, but my wife was telling, Mataji was not that, well like that. But she did a wonderful kirtan. Thanks.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So we'll start. Hare Krishna devotees, welcome for ISKCON West Extension Center of ISKCON Seshadripuram for the Sunday evening feast program. As usual, we will have Srimad Bhagavad Gita class today. We are again fortunate to have His Grace Padmanabh Achyuta Prabhu to enlighten us in some few verses from the 6th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Last week also he gave a wonderful class, so he will continue with that flow. So Prabhu, requesting you to kindly enlighten us. Thank you for accepting the service in a very short notice. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So I will disconnect and connect. My camera is not being detected.
Okay.
So I'll try to disconnect and connect us.
Sure, Prabhu. Please join back. Yeah. So let's give Prabhu a couple of minutes time to join back. So Prabhu is back. We will now
Hare Krishna.
and he can take over. Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you for joining.
Hare Krishna.
So please take us through Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So thanks for the opportunity for allowing me to give class today. And welcome, all devotees, ISKCON West Outpost, Bhakti Sadan. And as we discussed last week, verse number 31 and 32 from Dhyana Yoga, that is 6th chapter. And so we will do a couple of slokas, that is 33 and 34. That is a continuation. So let me share the screen. So 33 and 34. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, yes. Oh, yes. Hare Krishna. As I mentioned, 6th chapter, 33 and 34th sloka, we'll discuss for today. Arjuna Vacha, Yo Ayyam Yogas Tvaya Proktaha Samyena Madhusudana Etasyaham Na Pashyami Chanchalatvat Sthitam Stiram. Arjuna Vacha Yo Ayyam Yogastvaya Proktaha Samyena Madhusudana Yatasyaham Na Pashyami Chanchalatvat Sthitim Stiram. Arjuna Vacha Yo Ayyam Yogastavya Proktaha Samyena Madhusudana Yatasyaham Na Pashyami Chanchalatvat Sthitam Stiram. Word to word translation. Arjuna Vacha. Arjuna said, Yeah, I am. This system, Yogaha, mysticism, Tvaya, by you, Proktaha, described, Samyena, generally, Madhusudana, O killer of the demon Madhu, Yetasya, of this, Aham, I, Na, do not, Pashyami, see, Chanchalatvat, you too being restless, Sthitim, situation, Stiram, stable. Translation and purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Right.
Arjuna said, O Madhusudana, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable to me, for the mind is restless and unsteady. Purport. The system of mysticism described by Lord Krishna to Arjuna, beginning with the words Suchau Dese and ending with Yogi Paramaha, is here being rejected by Arjuna out of a feeling of inability. It is not possible for an ordinary man to leave home and go to a secluded place in the mountains or jungles to practice yoga in this age of Kali. The present age is characterized by a bitter struggle for a life of short duration. People are not serious about self realization even by simple practical means, and what to speak of this difficult yoga system, which regulates the mode of living, the manner of sitting, selection of place, and detachment of the mind from material engagement. As a practical man, Arjuna thought it was impossible to follow this system of yoga, even though he was favorably endowed in many ways. He belonged to the royal family and was highly elevated in terms of numerous qualities. He was a great warrior. He had a great longevity, and above all, he was the most intimate friend of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 5,000 years ago, Arjuna had much better facilities than we do now. Yet he refused to accept the system of yoga. In fact, we do not find any record in history of this practicing it at any time. Therefore, this system must be considered generally impossible in this age of Kali. Of course, it may be possible for some very few rare men, but for the people in general, it is an impossible proposal. If this were so 5,000 years ago, then what is the present day? Those who are imitating this yoga system in different so called schools and societies, although complacent or certainly wasting their time, they are completely in ignorance of the desired goal. Read next sloka. Chanchalam he manah Krishna paramati balavad dridham tashyaham nigraham manye vayu ivasu dushkaram. Chanchalam he manah Krishna pramati balavad dridham tashyaham nigraham manye vayu ivasu dushkaram. Chanchalam he manah Krishna pramati balavadridam tasyaham nigraham manye vayur ivasu dushkaram. Word to word translation. Chanchalam, flickering. Hey, certainly. Manaha, mind. Krishna, O Krishna. Pramati, agitating. Balavat, strong. Dridam, obstinate. Tasya, its. Aham, I. Nigraham, subduing. Manye, think. Vayuhu, of the wind. Iva, like. Sudushkaram, difficult. Translation. The mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong. O Krishna, and to subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind. Purport. The mind is so strong and obstinate that it sometimes overcomes the intelligence, although the mind is supposed to be subservient to the intelligence. For a man in the practical world who has to fight so many opposing elements, it is certainly very difficult to control the mind artificially. One may establish a mental equilibrium toward both friend and enemy, but ultimately no worldly man can do so. For this is more difficult than controlling the raging wind. In the Vedic literature, Katha Upanishad 1.3.3 to 4, it is said, Atmanam Rachinam Vidihi Sariram Ratam Yevacha Buddhim To Saratim Vidhi Manaha Pragaram Yevacha Indriyani Hayan Ahu Vishayam Teshu Gocharan Atmendriya Manoyuktam Bhoktet Bhokteti Ahur Manishinaha. The individual is the passenger in the car of the material body, and intelligence is the driver. Mind is the driving instrument, and the senses are the horses. The self is thus enjoyer or sufferer in the association of the mind and senses. So it is understood by great thinkers. Intelligence is supposed to direct the mind, but the mind is so strong and obstinate that it often overcomes even one's own intelligence. As an acute infection may surpass the efficacy of medicine, such a strong mind is supposed to be controlled by the practice of yoga, but such practice is never practical for a worldly person like Arjuna. And what can we say of modern man? The simile used here is appropriate. One cannot capture the blowing wind, and it is even more difficult to capture the turbulent mind. The easiest way to control the mind, as suggested by Lord Chaitanya, is chanting Hare Krishna, the great mantra for deliverance in all humility. The method prescribed is Sa Vai Manaha Krishna Padaraviddayo Yoha. One must engage one's mind fully in Krishna. Only then will there remain no other engagement to agitate the mind. Here we read both the verses and its purport. So let me take now blessings through pranam mantras. Om Ajnana Timrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Tashkom Militam Yena Tashmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Tabitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadanti Swapadantiham Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavancha
Shri
Rupam Sagrajatam
Sahagana
Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitam Cha E Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhasya Krupa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Spunyavadi Paschasya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna devotees. So, Vijay Prabhu given me once again, to continue from last week. So kindly bear with me for another, you know, 30 minutes or 40 minutes for these two verses for the day. And we all know, so little background, to set up where we are now. So we are in the sixth chapter. The sixth chapter deals about Dhyana Yoga. So that means in fifth chapter there is a connectivity from Ashtanga Yoga, from the verse number 27. That set the foundation for understanding or the flow of this chapter. And before this is the flow of the chapter, and nicely Krishna had given Prabhupada made us like Oreo biscuit. The entire Bhagavad Gita, if we take first 6 chapters and last six chapters, and in the middle there is a cream, that is Bhakti Yoga. So we are in the top layer at the fag end of completing, understanding about this Bhakti Yoga which is going to come. And this sixth chapter will give more clarity towards the other parts, how difficult it is and how prominent it is, so etc. So that details, it is very useful. And same way the flow of this chapter, it continues with the various division, I can say, or the flow of this sixth chapter will be like this. So which we have covered already, like so 6 divisions are the flow. I am trying to understand like this. The flow starts with advancing in yoga through detached work. So that is the first understanding in this. So this is like Ashtanga yogis, like Nishkama Karma yogi, engaged in a detached work to advance. That means detaching from through mind, like that. That is recommended. And then the yoga rudra stage, that is giving up the work only, right? So how to understand this giving up the work means a yogi may even give up Nishkama Karma Yoga when his mental control reaches the stage of regarding well-wisher, the envious, the pious, and sinners equally, right? So even that is a higher stage, giving up the work itself. And then further stages in the practice of yoga. So Krishna describes how to understand this. Krishna describes the practices of Ashtanga Yoga. The results are Yoga Rudra or the perfectional stage, and ultimate the vision of the super soul. So even in Dhyana Yoga also it is mentioned very clearly. Only in today's context, how in Kali Yuga we progress even with this. We in the sense those who come to the stage of understanding this Ashtanga Yoga, still it's a big question mark that is being discussed in today's purport also. And the flow, the next flow is necessity of controlling the turbulent mind, right? So it is very important. So why to control this turbulent mind? That is very important. Okay, Dhyana Yoga is okay. So why we have to very particularly Arjuna and Krishna is explaining to Arjuna all these things. So Arjuna is having the bidirectional conversation. What is the necessity of controlling this turbulent mind? And that is the flow. That is what today we are starting. And 2 more flow or divisions are there. The destination of the unsuccessful yogi and the topmost yogi. So that is out of our scope. And today's discussion is only about necessity of controlling the turbulent mind. So in previous verse we have discussed, previous verse we discussed about how they are acting, the yogi, how they act. That we have discussed in the previous. And today's context and today's point is all about necessity of controlling the turbulent mind with respect to Dhyana Yoga. And what is the link between, now this is the flow of the chapter. Now we will link between previous sloka and this sloka, how it is relevant. After hearing descriptions of Ashtanga Yoga, Arjuna analyzes his inability to follow the process. So the actions he understood from previous 2 slokas, and particularly 32nd sloka, and he understood very thoroughly the inability to follow the process. So that is the link between previous and this verse. And this particular, two verses about Arjuna's, realization or the discussion, and remaining two are answer for Arjuna's, questions like that. And what is the practical application of, these four slokas? That remaining two slokas, that let it be surprise. That will be answered, maybe in the next, you know, class. But today we will, point only towards what is the necessity of controlling the turbulent mind. That has this four slokas will answer for that. We are going to discuss only two slokas. So what is this, learning from these four slokas means Arjuna's rejection of the Ashtanga Yoga path is significant. Rejection of Ashtanga Yoga. Arjuna was thoroughly qualified person from a high parentage. If even he could not follow this, righteous path, what to speak of people of Kali Yuga, who are less qualified in so many ways. Therefore, in this age, the yogic process is not a suitable means to transcendental realization. It is being discussed even in the beginning only of this sixth chapter. Then in Kali Yuga, the suitable practice to control the mind is devotional service. This is the answer, that remaining, 35 and 36 sloka. Starting with chanting the holy names, detachment comes easily when one is attached to the devotional service to Krishna. So this is the purpose of these four slokas. Okay, so here only we can conclude today's purpose of understanding of this Dhyana Yoga, two slokas. But let us further understand what exactly Prabhupada conveying to us through his purport. The first verse, today's first verse. What is the theme of this verse is Arjuna's inquiry. This yoga is impractical and unendurable. So he concludes. So in the sloka only, we saw that Arjuna Uvacha. What he Uvacha? Arjuna's inquiry. This yoga is impractical and unendurable. So why? And also he gives further detail that because the mind is restless and unsteady. Yes, the mind. The moment we took birth in this planet, so we are conditioned for, no doubt about it. And three gunas already attached with us. What are the three gunas? Sattva, Rajo, and Tamo gunas. So like that. So let us focus on this verse. Here in verse, which yoga system is being rejected here, the one described by Lord Krishna from text 6.11, Suchau Dese, to text 6.32, Yogi Paramaha. So here Yogi Paramaha. These are the two verses. That is 6.11 and 6.32 is the reference, right? The one disobeyed by the Lord, described by Lord Krishna from these two verses as a reference. And the preaching application is if Arjuna rejects, Prabhupada trying to explain to us, if Arjuna rejects, what to talk of modern man with all incapabilities of Kali Yuga. So like us personally, person like me, I can say in this way, Prabhupada is trying to explain the purport. So it is being divided into two contexts. One is characteristics of Kali Yuga, and what are the qualities or abilities of Arjuna. In the purport, mainly Prabhupada focus about two things. One is characteristics of Kali Yuga, and another one is super excellent abilities of Arjuna. So let us understand what is the characteristics of Kali Yuga. The first one, Prabhupada says here, bitter struggle for a life of short duration. Bitter struggle for a life of short duration. right? So, but this is the quality in Kali Yuga, right? Bitter struggle. So much of that this for what, for life of short duration. And what is the next characteristics of Kali Yuga? People are not serious about self-realization even by simple practical means. Not serious about self-realization. Even people say Nityam Bhagavata Sevya. How many of us there in the presently connected? How many of us progressing? Everything matters. Then what to speak this difficult yoga system which regulates the mode of living, the manner of sitting, selection of place, the detachment of the mind from material engagement. What to speak this difficult yoga system? So how? So you have to semi-open your eyes, sitting on a deer skin, going to a secluded place, and sitting. So in Kali Yuga, it is highly impossible, right? Manner of sitting, selection of place, the forest. How it is, and the detachment of the mind from material engagements. So highly impossible. Prabhupada quotes, very often this example. Even a person who is in coma, that mind will be thinking of something, only that body could not relate to what that mind is thinking.
Yes.
So what to speak of, other jiva. So these are the simple, characteristics in the 3 points, Prabhupada highlights here. Characteristics of Kali Yuga, and then super excellent abilities of Arjuna as compared to men of Kali Yuga. So Prabhupada comparing, with Arjuna and us. So here he belongs to the royal family. Arjuna belongs to a royal family. So royal family, no need to describe. And he was a great warrior, right? What to speak, So he is so professional. We claim that my profession, I am so great in my profession. Yes, it is good, but Arjuna is even more opulent than whatever this so-called professions we belongs to. And then he had great longevity, right? Longevity. So Arjuna knows this entire planet. Who is Arjuna? No, he is not a ordinary person. Panchapandavas and this. We know Mahabharata. So all this, Bhishma, and he's not an ordinary person. And then above all, he was the intimate friend of Lord Krishna. That is most important. Not only that, he is an intimate friend of Lord Krishna. So personally, we cannot think that intimacy with the Lord like Arjuna. So he's so elevated person. So that's what Prabhupada is highlighting here. And finally, Prabhupada giving a punch at the end of the this first verse purport. Modern imitation yoga schools are thus condemned because they are completely ignorant of the desired goal. So even once, in Vidra Prabhu's house, we were doing Abhishekam, some, festival. We were doing, Gaurnika Abhishek. Then after, Abhishekam, little bit, gap was there. Then immediately one person stood and, tried to take the attention of the entire crowd. And he started, all of you, please sit down and I will tell, about this yoga, and you all sit down. And he started, speculating about all these, asanas and pranayama, all these things, started. That means, so he's trying to see your purpose, whatever the devotional service being, performed in that particular place. Even there are people thinks that, this particular process is, I am so qualified, and, the misguided, environment we can understand. Practically, I am, telling this. The modern imitation yoga schools are thus condemned because they are completely ignorant of the desired goal. So almost 70% people are going for their bodily, yes, it is good to keep, the body fit. There's nothing wrong in that. In what mood we are going, with sense gratification. So I will be more, qualified, men or qualified women. I will be, in a so materialistic, conception. People are so attached with the modern yoga system. Not only, see, proudly we say, the whole world, India has given yoga. What is the true yoga? Still, it is a big question mark. So completely ignorance of the desired goal. The goal of the yoga is to connect with the supreme. But that is missing. Oh, I am doing this yoga and this asana, and I can stand like this in one finger for 10 minutes. That this I can all 360-degree. I can tilt my body. I can stay. All these things are okay. But the ultimate purpose, the ultimate goal, the desired goal is missing. Prabhupada very straight away refuted for better understand. So this little summary of this first verse deals about how Kali Yuga, he explained very beautifully, and how within this short span one wants to do this dhyana. It is not highly impossible. We know how many years Guru Maharaj meditated, how many years other saintly people meditated. So what to speak of Kali Yuga, spending so much of time and everything. Prabhupada also mentions about yogis. After doing 20 years of penance, very powerful, and they can bring out what is happening in New York airport or US airport. What is happening now with that yogic power, they can see and they can convey to us. But Prabhupada refuted that. See, by spending 20,000 or 40,000, you can go to US. You can see what practically going on there. For that, why to waste your very short span in the Kali Yuga? You are wasting so much of time for ordinary thing, which is not that precious. Yes, of course, but for instead of getting through some other path, at least somebody is attempting to do this path, but it is highly impossible. Arjuna himself declared here. Arjuna himself, because the mind is restless and unsteady. That is the question of Dhyana Yoga, going in a secluded place and sitting, this, highly impossible. I am remembering, the pastimes of how Prahlad Maharaj born. Right? Hiranyakashipu went to forest. He went and he sat or he stood, I don't know. So he was doing some meditation for 100 years, right? He started doing 100 years. Probably he told his wife, I will go and do meditation for about 100 years. Then I will come back, just keep my meal ready, like that. In that mood he went 100 years, right? Then there somebody devotees, they were chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Then this Mahamantra disturbed this demonic person Hiranyakashipu. Then immediately, just he opened his eyes. This place is not suitable for me. Some these people are there. So let me. This is the quality of atheist or demonic people. Then immediately he returned home and he told his wife, I came back. I got disturbed by this, like this. So then later on, only after this conversation, what had happened, and he narrated, when I went to the forest, then I started doing this. Even for person like Hiranyakashipu, it is like that, right? Whether it is good or bad, that is that that atmosphere I am trying to put it across. Even for such a demonic person, this is highly impossible. So what to speak of others? This is another my maybe understanding, I can say. So in that way, so the Kali Yuga is not that suitable like in other yugas. And then super excellent ability. So Prabhupada, why he is bringing out the ability of, or the glories, or he is glorifying Arjuna here compared to men of Kali Yuga. He belongs to the royal family. What to speak of as this. And he is a great warrior. By profession, he is so master in that, so excellent. And he had a great longevity. So he is not an ordinary person. He is being provided with so much of lineage. Bhishma Pitamaha and Dronacharya, you name anything. So he is so skilled and so longevity person. And above all, he was the intimate friend of Lord Krishna. So he expressed, Karpanya dosho pahata swabhava Prachami Tvam Dharma Sampurna Chetaha. So through this, sloka, so he expressed that, so I just, my soul surrender. So I am so bewildered. I don't know what to do for this thing. So in that mood, he surrendered, and Krishna also accepted. So in Kali Yuga, can we find anybody like this to qualify for Prabhupada? Somewhat he mentioned that at least one or two people, maybe it is possible like that he had put. But see, person like Arjuna, it is impossible. Then what to speak about others? Maybe it takes many lives. So that is what the thing. And finally, the misconception. Modern imitation yoga schools are thus condemned because they are completely ignorance of the desired goal of yoga. Yoga means to connect. So this is the small, understanding or short summary of uh, the first sloka. And we will move to the purport of second sloka, that is 34th sloka. Before getting into the 34th sloka, what is the link between this sloka and this second sloka? Arjuna thus points out why maintaining this outlook is so problematic. What is this problematic? Arjuna thus points out why maintaining this outlook is so problematic. So he told, it is not possible very straight away. And outlook. So this is very problematic. Why? Why it is problematic? Because nature of the mind. So here the entire theme of this particular sloka, Arjuna says, describes what is the nature of mind. Why? What is the nature of mind? Restless and turbulent. And how restless and how turbulent, like a wind analogy. So wind, how the wind, very shaky, and we feel we felt how the wind blows all the direction here and there, hither and thither. So keep on, it will be moving, left, right, center, like that. So in that way, our restless and turbulent, that is the perfect example and nature of our mind. So here, Prabhupada straight away, it is being mentioned here. And even Arjuna says, not only Prabhupada, when Arjuna says this, and then it is so strong and obstinate. So this mind is in this condition, strong in the sense, in restless it is so strong, and then obstinate. So this is very obstinate, strong and obstinate. Prabhupada uses in the translation very very mindful in using all these words. And then let us get into the purport. In this purport, there are four things we are there to understand. What are those four things? The first, one by one, we will see. Mind is restless and turbulent like the wind. Yes, of course, that is what the translation says. For a man in the practical world who has to fight so many opposing elements. Yes, many people think life is all about solving the problem, right? And in one of devotee class, so I heard that, but actually it is not. Why? Because could anyone solve? We think you ask any learned person, they say, see, Prabhu, life is all about solving the problem, right? Straight away, Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj had given an instruction, right? Life is not about solving the problem. Why? Because nobody can solve birth, death, old age, and disease. Could anybody could give the solution for this? Any famous scientist or any famous or any so-called intellectual people? Could anybody can give solution to this? Yes. So for a man in practical world who has to fight so many opposing elements, what are the so many opposing elements? The topmost elements are these four: birth, death, old age, and disease. It's very difficult to control the mind, right? So the topmost fear is death. So could anyone overcome the fear of this death? No. Could anyone? Why to go to that extreme? Small thing, job security. Oh, in one office, what will happen? Why between husband and wife? When we speak each other, we can observe our mind. How going to the extreme, and then sometimes very submissive, sometimes very emotional, and sometimes how these are the difficult. So difficult to control. It's very difficult to control the mind. And then, in the same first point, artificially one may establish a mental equilibrium. So one of my senior professor, he shared, sir, ನಿಮಗೆ ಏನೋ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಇದ್ರೆ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಕಣ್ಣು ಮುಚ್ಕೊಂಡು ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಯು ಸಿಟ್ ಇನ್ ಅ ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಆಫ್ ನಥಿಂಗ್. He has done, materially, very, very prominent college or institute in India, and then studied. But this is the level of understanding for the people. So artificially, one may establish a mental equilibrium towards friends and enemies, but ultimately, no worldly man can do so. That means what that professor tries to explain to me is, right, a principle of the one of the college. So he is trying to explain. You try to bring your mind to think of nothing, right? So how artificially people condition for this is more difficult than controlling the raging wind. So how this wind is very turbulent, so like that, it is very difficult than controlling. So wind itself, but what to think about our this restless and turbulent mind. It's highly impossible. Yes, this is a perfect realization from Arjuna we can learn. And further, out of 4, the second point deals with mind as strong and obstinate. Mind as strong and obstinate. How to understand this? Intelligence is supposed to direct the mind, but the mind often overcomes one's own intelligence. Prabhupada gives beautiful analogy. Just like an acute infection may surpass the efficacy of medicine. Acute infection may surpass the efficacy of medicine. So somebody will ask whether this antibiotic, have you ever used? Some antibiotic will not work for, antibiotic will not work for all. A strong mind may overcome one's own intelligence. It's like that, right? A strong mind may overcome one's own intelligence. So mind always dominates. But your intelligence says, but mind dominates. While chanting, you go sleep, right? Like that, many times. So my experience, I'm sharing. So this means, so the intelligence says, my dear, please, do 16 rounds. You are committed this to Guru Maharaj, and it is good for you, for your, real purpose of, this birth. Do this. But even though mind dominates and, takes to the mode, sleep mode, like that. Then the third point here in the purport out of 4, analogy. It's very famous analogy. ISKCON, it's very everybody should understand this, like kind of example it is. The mind as driving instrument of a chariot. Mind as a driving instrument of a chariot. So it is being referred from Katha Upanishad 1.3.3 2 and 1.3.4, 3 to 4. Okay, so like that. So here, before getting into that, those verses, that analogy, the Katha Upanishad is not an ordinary, scripture. So this is one of the primary Upanishad. Among the Upanishad, it is Mukhya Upanishad. It is being mentioned and embedded in the last 8 short sections of the Katha school of the Krishna Yajur Veda. So it's portion of Yajur Veda, detail, and it's also being compared with, named with other names also, but and it's being kept 3rd position out of 108 Upanishad. So this Katha Upanishad is kept in the 3rd position. So it is very important to understand. So here there are 5 things being equated. What is this 5 things? Horses, driving instrument. Driving means the chariot analogy. This is, I'm trying to explain the chariot analogy. Horse, there are 5 horses, and then driving instrument means the rope or that something arrangement from its neck to the driver. That is called driving instrument, right? Driving instrument, and then the driver. Somebody has to drive that, like Krishna. Krishna drives the chariot, and then chariot itself, the whole chariot itself, another entity, and then passenger of the chariot. So horse, driving instrument, driver, chariot, passenger of the chariot. So who is the passenger of the chariot? Arjuna, we all know. But here it is soul. And what is the chariot? Chariot is body. And what is the driver? Intelligence is the driver. And what is the driving instrument? Mind is the driving instrument. And what is the horse? Horses, all our five senses. What are our five senses? Eyes, nose, and then tongue, and then skin, and then what is the ears? So these are the five senses. So like that, five horses being equated here in this Katha Upanishad. So our life also like that. We have been Prabhupada always gives this example. We all are Go Dasa, rather Goswami. Right? Goswami means the one who serves the. Goswami means who is the master of senses. Go Dasa means the one who is a slave of senses. So in Kali Yuga, we all started trying to fulfill all the sense desires. Whatever our eyes, whatever the moment we look at. So the moment all these five senses equated for our material sense gratification. So all these eyes will take us somewhere. The tongue will take us somewhere. This nose will take us somewhere. So all these five senses, it's not that easy to coordinate and then drive a chariot. So our senses also like that. It is not that easy. Like our horses, will move here and there, and likewise. So our senses also not stable. It will take us within no time. The one who could control, they will be addressed as a Goswami. So, but in Kali Yuga, Go Dasa, no other. This thing, what to say? The level, only we all are practicing devotees. That much I can say. But some are elevated souls are there, like Guru Maharaj. So we cannot compare. And then senses. Then the driving instrument is our mind. What is the role of mind? Mind should hear about intelligence, but always this mind wins. Between intelligence and mind, always there is a whether shall we go to movie, shall we come to temple. So one of our senior devotee, he used to say, Prabhu, I drop my wife and daughter in temple, I go to movie, right? So always mind was winning. Now today he is one of the prominent preacher and one of the prominent senior devotee in temple, right? So that means always this intelligence and mind. Not only that example, even we can take our own progress also. So always mind wins, intelligence loses. And Vidura Prabhu gives this example. There is a person who is a diabetic. The intelligence says, my dear, don't eat more than 2 gulab jamun or 3 gulab jamun, right? And always mind wins. Okay, chalo, we'll take one more. After relishing 1 gulab jamun, one more will go. After relishing second one more also will go. So that means your mind is winning there, your intelligence is falling there. That is a driver analogy. And then chariot. The chariot is our body. So it is being equated, chariot as our body. Then finally the passenger of the chariot, that is individual soul. Now let us understand how which that how could this soul could be happy when all our senses are disturbing, like these arses. Our mind is like a driving instrument, our intelligence is like a driver, our body like a chariot, and the passenger of the chariot is soul. This is the analogy actually for the understanding. And then the fourth point here, in this purport, it is being addressed, or it could be clue for upcoming 2 more slokas. In 2 more slokas, Krishna also going to tell the same, but here Prabhupada gives the mood to set for Arjuna and for us easiest way to control the mind. And Prabhupada, reveals here. The answer also he reveals here on. Easiest way to control the mind is chant Hare Krishna in all humility, as suggested by Lord Chaitanya. Reference from Srimad Bhagavatam 9.4.18 to 20. Savai Munaha. In this, how Amrish Maharaja fixed his mind on Krishna. So always we are hearing about Amrish Maharaja. So let us hear from Prabhupada what Prabhupada is telling in Srimad Bhagavatam about Amrish Maharaj. King Amrisha fixed his mind on the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, engaged his words in describing the abode of the Lord. Engaged his words in describing the abode of the Lord. His hands in cleansing the cleansing the temple of the Lord. His ears in hearing the pastimes of the Lord. His eyes in seeing the form of the Lord. His body is touching the body of the devotee. His nostrils in smelling the flavor of the flowers offered to the lotus feet of the Lord. His tongue is tasting the tulsi leaves offered to him. His legs in traveling to the holy place where his temple is situated. His head is offering obeisances unto the Lord, and his desires in fulfilling the desires of the Lord. And all this qualification made him fit to become a Matpara devotee of the Lord. We'll discuss what is Matpara. So in this, passage, what is the take-home message is, so engage all our senses into Krishna's service. That should be the mood. Otherwise we all become, this Dhyana Yoga is not possible, without this. You just see that what is the subhava of our, tongue. So the tongue is so comfortable with, enjoying the moha, but don't enjoy that moha, enjoy the prasada. So that should be the, regulated way of leading the life or engaging the senses. Otherwise, artificially we can restrain, our senses. No, I will not eat this, that, or this. Artificial business will not work in Kali Yuga because we are so conditioned. No doubt. Because Kali Shudra Sambhava. So Kali Yuga, all are, Shudras. It is also in one point it is mentioned. So because why? Because we are so conditioned. Because this place is Ashashwatam and Dukkalaya. So we all are conditioned. One day it will vanish, or all these things are there. And from this, what is the take home is, we should engage all our senses into Lord's pleasure. So, and here it is, Matpara devotee of the Lord. So further, we'll understand why it is being, specifically mentioned that Matpara. The word Matpara is most significant in this connection. How one can become Matpara is described in the life of Maharaj Amrisha. So how to attain that stage, it is being given from the life of Maharaj Amrisha. Srila Baladeva Vidyabhushana, a great scholar and acharya in the line of the Matpara, remarks, Mad Bhakti Prabhavena Sarvendriya Vijaya Purvika Swatma Dristiha Sulabeti Bhavaha. That means the senses can be completely controlled only by the strength of devotional service to Krishna. All these 5 Rsas in this verse we have seen, this could be controlled only with the devotional service to Krishna. Also, the example of fire is sometimes given. And also, another analogy or example, as a blazing fire burns everything within a room, Lord Vishnu, situated in the heart of the yogi, burns up all kinds of impurities. So, see, Paramatma seated, in our heart, the Paramatma form. So he vanishes or burns up all kinds of impurities. That is with reference to our level of progress. How much, whatever the way you, level you, address me, I will also reciprocate in that way. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that. The Yoga Sutra also prescribes meditation on Vishnu, including, Yoga Sutra, whatever the so-called yoga schools, Prabhupada, mentioned in the previous sloka, right? They are misguiding. What is the real meaning of yoga? Misguiding. Physical exercise, okay, that is different. But understand what I am doing is only for my body, nothing related to the soul. The Yoga Sutra also prescribes meditation on Vishnu and not meditation on the void. So here it is again, Prabhupada refutes this impersonalism, right? Don't, not meditation on the void. The so-called yogis, so here it's understanding that Mayavadis accepts Lord is pervaded everywhere, but they will not accept Lord in the form of Sachidananda Vigraha, who is standing in front of me as a Lord Jagannath. The chariot, when we see Lord Jagannath, very amazing, very blissful. But the Mayavadis will come to the stage. Lord is there everywhere, but as a Jagannath, I cannot accept. As a deity form, I cannot accept. So that is foolishness. On the void, the so-called yogis who meditate on something other than the Vishnu form simply waste their time in a vain search after some, what is this? Searching for something useless like this. And we have to be Krishna consciousness, devoted to the personality of Godhead, devoted to the personality of Godhead. This is the aim of the real yoga. It is mentioned even in second chapter 61, 65, purport it is there. So this is what Prabhupada tries to explain here, like how easiest way to control the mind. Chant Hare Krishna in all humility. One day we will become pure and we will get closer to Krishna, like how Arjuna is an intimate friend, like that. And once again, a short summary of this second sloka is all about. So Arjuna straight away he explained nature of mind. Mind is not that easy to control and restless and turbulent like a wind, and it's very strong and obstinate. And how it is being mentioned here through 4 points. One is mind is restless and turbulent like the wind, and mind as strong and obstinate. And the analogy being given here, the individual soul, body, intelligence, mind, senses, like 5 horses, driving instrument, driver, chariot, passenger of the chariot. And then easiest way to control the mind, here Prabhupada concludes the Arjuna's purpose of these 2 verses as a yogic process with proper understanding. Chant Hare Krishna in all humility as suggested by Lord Chaitanya and like Amrish Maharaj. So let us all every day chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So otherwise we cannot march towards perfect yogi. So here I would like to stop for today's discussion. So once again, thanks for all the devotees for patiently hearing from me, and once again thanks to Vidura Prabhu for giving me this opportunity to continue the previous slokas and these 2 slokas. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you very much.
You can add if I can correct me, or you can add. Hare Krishna.
No, I think it was very clear. You contrasted nicely the 2 process and how practically we can perform devotional service. So I will not have any more to add at this point. Any questions or any other suggestions are there, we will take. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
How are you doing, Mr. Prabhu?
Prabhu, I cannot.
I'm sorry, how are you doing?
Yeah, fine, Prabhu. Thank you. Yeah. With all, devotees' care and, mercy, it's going on.
Very nice. One question. Firstly, in the straightforward and over a period of time, start realizing I like what you said. Yoga ways, propagate different ways. But they've forgotten the essence of why we do what we do.
Prabhu, could you change your audio more? Your audio is so so much of echo I feel or something.
Any better, Prabhu?
Yeah, now it is better.
Okay, I'm using a mobile phone today, so sorry.
Okay.
So, Prabhu, I was saying, I kind of agree that I won't say wrong way or whatever, but it's lost its essence of saying that ultimately going back to Godhead, remembering Krishna, right? That is lost, right? Somewhere the main purpose is lost. But one of the things, just getting to that, how do you quieten your mind and stuff? In what you talked about today, you said continue chanting Hare Krishna, and that's how it does work, right? Can someone share as to say, how do you start? There is always, I'm not talking about the science of how do you measure it, but how do you see those changes in your life? How do you realize that at some point of time, yes, those subtle changes have started happening in your life?
No, very, very nice. Practical question, Prabhu. Very nice. Because I'll try to attempt, and Vidura Prabhu can add, because he can, tell better. But I will attempt, I think. Since you asked me how, I can share personal, realization. And today's, class, temple class, Vidura Prabhu also relating something to this. Over a period of time, you will find that, see, somebody will say, it's very difficult to leave onion garlic, right? In one point of time. So I have been, eating some white onion. That is like that, white onion. This. So after getting into the process of chanting or with the devotee association, after knowing the quality of, what is prasada or what are the, three different gunas and why we should avoid, onion, garlic, and why should we eat only prasadam. So it is that desire is totally vanished. If somebody, brings something, or another example I could tell, if somebody comes and plays some songs, some the SP Balasubramaniam or some A.R. Rahman songs, in my car, you cannot find, because that I never, programmed my mind, from today onwards I should not, cut off this habit like this or that. So over a period of time, it's I today, it's a journey, So you could relate, to this, or even in office, knowingly or unknowingly, the algorithm. We may think, this is the algorithm for this, but once becoming a devotee and with the devotee association and this chanting process, some of the places or some of the topics. So those days, another example I could tell, I spend a lot of time with TV channels with debate shows, all this topic and that topic and this that and all. But when after getting into understanding, from Prabhupada, so this even whatever anything is theoretical, it is breaking in every step. Whatever you conclude, you arrive to this particular politician is speaking. This particular this left hand side debater is good, and this right hand side topic debater is good. Or the topic is very clear to the person who is inclined towards spirituality. After 5 minutes, they will put off the TV. I'm challenging if the one really progressing in Krishna consciousness, they will not have that much taste for. And Vidura Prabhu always give me alert. Don't go for any corridor discussion. Somebody will come and speculate. I try initial stage. No. This is like this. This is like this. Don't put yourself as a center, right? That point also the gradual elevation. When in the argument comes, I used to argue like this. See what I am trying to convey. That should be the this that. No, that mood being converged. Let me listen what this person trying to convey from what is the origin of that, equating with the Prabhupada and spiritual knowledge, what Krishna being equipped us to progress in Krishna consciousness, like that. Keep on we can tell on submissiveness. I'm not qualified, but we can see the changes over a period of time. The way we pursue things and how the things within the family life or in a professional life, we can see a lot of changes. How we deal with the issues or a problem. So same problem only, but I could relate in my personal experience how I was, approaching, this kind of problem. How after progressing, little bit, and this transformation. Since you are asking, I am, thinking and telling, whether it is, I am, not that realized, person. That is very true. But still, that anarthas and kalmishas will be there. That what to say, that will be there. But still, this is the process. One saintly, our acharya only he mentions that always. Hit with broomstick. My mind, my mind with broomstick 100 times in the morning, and then with shoes in the morning and with broomstick in the night. Oh, my dear mind, I told you not to get into all this, but the entire day you are thinking about all these things, all these materialistic things. See that? So that is heavy, dose. But I'm telling that definitely there is a progress from, Vidura Prabhu gives, this example. If a person who is, every day smoking 10 cigarette, if he comes to 8 cigarette, that is a progress. No, this is wrong. That is okay. But that progress definitely everybody can relate by over a period of time. Did I understand your question, Prabhu? Properly?
Absolutely right, Prabhu. Thank you so very much. Hare Krishna.
Right. Nice question. Practical question. Right.
So, Prabhu, actually, it's a nice question and nice answer also. I'm just trying to give another example. What Prabhu also mentioned here, our own team as a devotee, he has also said it here in a similar class. So he said he went to some ashram. Actually, he was coming to our program also, and then he went to an ashram, and then he inquired, I have some things which I want to let go. I'm not able to. Can you help? So they asked him, how old are you? This is a very famous ashram. I don't want to name anybody here. So he went there. They said, how old are you? Then he had told whatever, whatever his, I don't remember exactly what he said. They said, no, if you are within 28, some age they gave, we can actually help you. Now I can't. So he was rejected. So then he came and again said, Prabhu, I tried this. They told like this. I said, okay, that is fine. But this process will help you. You just go on with this. And of course, it's also about intent, right? You have to also, sometimes today also I was saying, there was one, one smoker was there, severe smoker. And then his son also learned from him, natural, like father, like son, they say like that. So the son also developed this bad habit. Then what happened? The son and father didn't get any disease. Unfortunately, son got some disease and it was something like a tuberculosis or something. So then they had to consult a doctor and the doctor said, see, now you need to stop smoking and drink a lot of milk. Then he said, yeah, milk is fine. I like it. I will drink, but I can't stop smoking. Then these fellows said, what will happen if I drink a lot of milk? Is it sufficient? Anyway, I was not taking a lot of milk earlier. Now I'm taking a lot of milk, but I'm continuing to smoke. Then he said, you will die. Then he was shocked. So the point here is, while you are adding good, we should also try to reduce the bad. There's a combination of stuff. But this bad thing is not a mechanical, that's what Achyuta Prabhu was trying to also explain. While what I was saying is the intent, we should be slightly sincere. That's the one portion, that's to that extent, anything Krishna says, right? Even to maintain your body, you need to work. So there has to be some effort from our side. But having said that, the mantra will cleanse is the other important aspect. What Vidura Prabhu was where Achyuta Prabhu was talking about. So he was saying, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in only the 8 stanzas, he has left written documentation from his own thing. So he says, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. That means the heart can be cleansed by chanting of the holy name. That means, see, whatever habits, whatever you mention, is basically because of our contamination with material association. From time immemorial, we have been doing these things. Right? It could be a very small thing like getting irritated with everything, or it could be a big thing like, completely spoiled our lungs, everything with smoking, drinking, whatever. There are different levels of it. But all of these things are basically because of our attachment to some or the other material contamination. Now, this needs to be erased. We are artificially trying to do with other material things. So you are put in a de-addiction program, it's those kind of things we try to do. But the point is here, if we simply are able to chant the holy name, it's not like, it's something which is given through the Shruti, like, the spiritual things are heard by the ear, and then, they can, be just practiced like that. So there it is said that you simply chant the holy name of the Lord, and the holy name will actually remove your contamination of material attachment, but it will certainly take some time, because time immemorial, I said, right? Time immemorial, we have been having these attachments. Like, even a child, he has done it for 4 days. The 5th day, you stop it, he will get angry, right? 4 days to 5th day, he can't control. How about many lifetimes of all this nonsense, right? Then they need to be reversed, and therefore but this mantra will go on rubbing it and cleaning. Cheto Darpanam. The heart, now you can't see who you are. You are thinking, you and I are thinking, I am the body. But when the heart is cleaned of this misgiving, you can actually see that, I am actually a pure spirit soul, and then sitting next to me is the Paramatma. So at that point in time, you have no kalmisha, no material contamination. It's easy. But this process is happening in the background. You don't put so much of effort. Your effort is about little sincerity, and we need to take support. Today, if you see the world, everywhere there are so many negative influences, right? You think, okay, you meet the neighbor immediately, hi sir, then he said, hi sir, then get into a conversation. It is all about, how much you can make, how much he has made, and what is the other brand that he has, what is, these kind of things, my child, is so good, he's so bad, these kind of things is what we encounter everywhere. Nobody is actually talking about real, what we really need to understand, in the life. So there has to be some quality time to do that, and some sincere effort to practice that. That means it should be in a favorable environment, like, therefore with like-minded people, engage in some form of thing. And practical, right? Arjuna is saying, I can't control the mind. How can you control the mind? Engage the mind. Even our own child, right? What do we do? Say, they are so much pestering you on something, then you try to engage them in something else. Then they sort of forget this, what they were hankering for earlier, like that. So, but if you are engaging your mind in Krishna, that is absolute. Then this thing goes away. So little effort, a drop of, some kind of a combination, or you called mixture of effort, mixture of getting strength through association. And of course, the main medicine is chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the holy name of the Lord. Maybe another sampradaya, it could be some other, in Sri Sampradaya, it may be Om Namo, Om Namo Narayanaya, maybe, whatever they have instructed the person to chant, that will cleanse. But we can see, as he said, all of us have had something or the other, and we continue to have something or the other. But you always have to see, when I started in, say, whatever, 2010, 15, 20, 21, 22, maybe 3 months back, if we started, from then to now, where do I stand? We gain little comfort. Yes, I am on the right track, little bit at least, Then if I add a little more dosage of sincerity, we will see a little bit more of that strength. So this is there. And our guna is also there. So I keep saying, it's not easy, right? Because time immemorial, we have been affected by this, inflicted by this pain or whatever, our habit. Old habits die hard, they say, right? So it is difficult, but with proper equipment, with proper tools, with proper guidance, we can clear that. All of us, Prabhu has said, right? All of us, somewhere along the line, so many, we are all contaminated. The minute we are exposed to this modern society, you start pick up, film songs, then you start seeing some rubbish, and then, if someone tells you, you smoke, and then someone, hey, Baba, what is there in drinking? Yeah, come on, chalo, let's do it. So even, all kinds. Today it's even much more. We would have done it maybe in, office environment or something. But many people now in school or 17, 18, they are already exposed to all these things, including illicit sex, everything. So it becomes difficult. And if we are used to it for a few years, it becomes. So therefore, associate with good, people who are having the strength and little sincerity. Slowly it will happen. Prabhu said, we can see that progress.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
But the tonic is that, how do we engage more? That's the ultimate thing. All of us in that journey, how can I do more? How can I do more? The more I am spiritualized, the more I am out of nonsense. So that's the point. Hare Krishna. Okay.
Very nice, Prabhu. So there are so many don'ts. Let us increase, the do's.
Yeah.
Automatically,
Yes.
the don'ts will be suppressed.
Yeah, that's the important point, right? So don'ts are there, it is always unsurmountable. Why do you think too much about the don'ts? Do about the do's, but don'ts be mindful. Don't indulge. Those will go away.
Thanks.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thanks for the wonderful explanation. Like you said, there are a lot of do's and don'ts, and what was difficult for Arjuna is definitely difficult for us today. If it was difficult for him then, it is definitely very difficult for us to practice what he said it was difficult then. So best to do what the experts suggest. So yeah, thanks, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, thank you for the wonderful class and a lot of practical and day-to-day examples, which at times we all face. Right? So initially, when we all came into Krishna consciousness, we read Bhagavad Gita, we thought that, okay, this is something which is totally connected to Krishna and to divine. Right? But as in all, time progresses and we understand, we realize that no, this is connected to our day-to-day lives, the way we deal with things on a day-to-day basis. Right? So each verse and the explanation of each verse is connected to the day-to-day activities we do, day-to-day decision making we do, and the thinking process we have, for each thing. Right? So naturally, the lower taste which we had as you were talking initially, like listening to TV songs and all that, we don't decide on one day that okay, today from tomorrow I'm not going to listen to SP Balasubramaniam, but as time progresses, automatically we lose that taste. So we all have gone through that and experienced it and still experiencing it. So that way, Krishna consciousness is very practical because we can see a transformation in ourselves, however small or little it may be, but we can see a practical transformation. So that means it is not something subjective. It is connected to us in a very practical way. So thank you, Prabhu, for the wonderful explanations.
Yes, perfect, Prabhu, perfect. And voluntarily. See, there is no force, you have to do this, that. See, this is the realization with the progress. Yes,
absolutely.
Naturally, all these things will lower taste.
Yeah.
As you told, Prabhuji also mentioned that, you attach to higher taste automatically, this lower taste will go.
Right. No, see, one example, and Prabhupada also says in his lectures, that if newspaper was so important, people would not have thrown it after 4 to 5 hours. Right? Now, almost 3 to 4 years, and many of us have not read newspapers. And initially, if you recall, long back, maybe 7, 8, 10 years back, we used to wait in the morning that why newspaper guy has not come. Right? Now, COVID time has come, newspapers have not come in many homes. Right? Even though apps are there, but we're not wasting time reading each and every line of newspaper. Right? And Prabhupada, though he said 50 years back, but he said a very practical thing, that newspapers are not critical because they are thrown after 4 hours. Right? My father was a big fan of newspaper, but I kept on telling this concept to him. So since COVID, he has stopped reading newspaper. Right? So this is a big transformation which I could feel in a practical way, that instead of wasting time on newspaper, we can read so much of great Prabhupada books and do chanting and all. So these are all practical things, Prabhuji.
Yeah, perfect. Sharing. Very nice points.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Very nice. Even Vidra Prabhu told, he had been, to some office trip to some foreign country. He has got one day, time to, go around and, see the places like that. But, Prabhu told, so casually, I don't find, going, to see that, this mall and this and all, just I took rest and then, I finished my rounds like that. He was telling so casually. So I was, really thinking when Prabhupada, telling to his disciples, like, I'm going to so and so country, for preaching like that. Then all the devotees were so excited. Prabhupada, a very nice country that they started glorifying, the physical appearance of that country and opulent places of that country, etc. Like that. Then Prabhupada, just said very coolly, see, those country people also doing the same thing, only what you and me are doing, eating, sleeping, mating, defending. And what to speak of today, many people says, Europe too, that is not wrong. In what mode, we go and see, the skyscrapers and, all these things, right? How the vision of Prabhupada and how, these things, I'm thinking on this, since you have lined up, all this sequence, so I'm recalling them. Thanks for all your sharings. Hare Krishna. Very nice. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So, Hare Krishna devotees, thank you all very much for joining for yet another Sunday. Wonderful session by Akshata Prabhu. Thank you very much, Prabhu. So, we will continue to have this, this is real intelligence to discuss about Krishna. Prabhupada used to say, right? Discuss about Krishna. So, this is real time spent. Others, people may think we are fanatics, but that's also the problem, right? Because they are completely misled. Prabhu talked about it very well. So let's continue with whatever negatives we have, whatever we would try to do, progress this way, and we will certainly go back to Bharat. Hare Krishna.
Thanks, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I will end this session. Thank you, devotees on YouTube. Thanks for joining. Hare Krishna.